Hi, you guys. Welcome back. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and today we're going to be doing part one of my Granny in Circle or Circle and Granny Square pattern. This is the pattern that I used for my fall 2021 blanket. This is what we will be making today. We will be making just the circle part of this. The squaring, the 2 rows to square this off are a little bit more involved, so I do want to do those in their own video. So today we will just be doing the circle. I am using just some worsted weight acrylic scraps that I happen to have on hand. I did coordinate these to be spring colors when I saw what I had on hand. As these are worsted weight scraps, I will be using my Clover Amour size I 5.5 millimeter hook. This is just my preferred brand of hook. You will want a pair of scissors and some tapestry needles as we continue to work along. As I did this sample, I did weave in my ends with every single row. That is not necessary. You can wait until you finish the circle to weave in the ends. When I did the fall blanket, I actually did a whole bunch of centers at one time. And about every 3 rows as I was building out on a lot of those is when I would finally weave in the ends. But, you know, I do the centers and figure out what colors I wanted to use and build out from there. And then, yeah, I did different things depending on my mood the day I was working on these. So this is what we're going to be working on. It is a 6-row pattern. It is a fairly easy pattern to follow along with as long as you know how to chain and do the double crochet. The center circle, you can either do a chain 3 slip stitch circle or use magic loop. It is up to you and your personal preference. But other than that, all you need to know how to do is double crochet and do a single crochet. I hope you guys enjoy, and I look forward to seeing your makes. All right, you guys, so starting off here, we are just picking one of the 6 yarns I pulled for this. I did just pull some random worsted weight acrylic. I've got Impeccable, I Love This yarn, and Red Heart Super Saver. So I'm not even being brand specific in what I'm using here. I'm just using whatever I had handy. Use whatever you want to use. Like I said, this can be translated to any weight. Just change your hook size based on the size of yarn you're using. For worsted weight, I do tend to use a lot of eye hooks. That is my go-to hook. And here we go on getting started. So first off, we have to make a circle. Now, you can use magic loop for this, or you can do the chain 3, make a slip stitch. I'm going to try to keep my fingers out of the way as much as possible, but it is very hard to do. Open up your circle here, and we are going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to make a double crochet into the loop. Now I am going to be working over my tail here. It will help keep the tail out of the way. So double crochet, and then we're going to chain 1, and that makes our first 2 double cluster. So we are going to make 2 double crochets. 1, 2, and now we're going to chain 1 again. We are going to want 6 2 double crochet clusters into the circle. So 1, 2, and chain 1. So we've got 1 cluster, 2 cluster, 3 cluster, one, 2, chain 1, 1, 2, chain 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 1 more. 2 double crochet cluster, 1, 2, chain 1, and we are going to slip stitch to the top of the first stitch, which is this 3rd chain from earlier. Oh goodness gracious, those cats. All right. So I am going to clip my yarn here and weave in my ends real quick just so this makes this more visible for you guys to see what's going on. But that is our 6 clusters to start off this square. All right, you guys, so here we are with our little center button of this round 1. My ends are woven in, that way we don't have dangling ends. You do not have to weave in ends in between each row. All right, so what we're going to be doing in row 2 is we're going to be coming in between each cluster here and creating a double cluster. So insert your hook in between any of our clusters. And the reason why we're going to create a double cluster is we're going to be increasing this row by creating a space to make 12 clusters in round 3. So we're going to join with the slip stitch or just pull through in between any of your 6 clusters. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet in the same space, we're going to chain 1 and then do 2 more double crochets into the same space. And now we have 2 double crochet clusters. So we have a double cluster here in our first space. We're going to chain 1, move to the space in between the next 2 clusters, and we're going to do 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1, and do 2 more double crochets to create the next double cluster. A little bit more extension there. All right, we're going to chain 1 between clusters. In the next round, we will be working into these chain 1 spaces. So 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, chain 1. Of course, I pulled a yarn that didn't have a nice, neat looseness to it. Oh, well. My tail from the other side pulled through. That would be why. Welcome to real life once again. Nothing here is edited for or sanitized for the purpose of filming. All right. So in between the cluster from round one, 2 double crochets, chain 1, into the same space, chain 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We will have 6 of these double clusters when we finish this row, and we will have 12 chain 1 spaces. One of the reasons why I really love this way of doing the increase for the circle is you have a nice smooth increase transition. You never have that flat circle increase bar. And especially if you decide to change colors, because you can go in between whichever one you want to, you definitely avoid that as you're coming around. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double clusters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's our chain 1. Once we make this slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, we will have 12 chain 1 spaces. And that's what we should have. 6 clusters, 12 chain 1 spaces going around. All right, I'm going to pause this. And once again, clip my yarn and weave in my ends just for visibility. You can wait to do that at the end of each circle. You do you. Alrighty, you guys. So here we are with our 2-round, soon-to-be circle, kind of circle shape. So for round 3, what we're going to be doing is making a 3 double crochet cluster. So we're going to be double crocheting 3 times into each chain 1 space going around. So we're going to have 12 clusters this time. So I'm going to start in this hole. It doesn't matter which chain 1 spot you decide to start in. When I am changing the color every round, I do try to move where I'm starting each time. That way we don't end up with some wonky smushed edge or something. All right, so you're going to slip stitch into the chain 1, chain 3, do 2 double crochets into this first one. So that's our first cluster, chain 1, 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space from round 2. Chain 1, and between our clusters here, 1, 2, 3. We're going to chain 1, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 1, 2, 3. So you'll start to see the separation and the clusters there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our first 5 3 double crochet clusters. I'm going to finish row 3, weave in my ends, and I will be right back. Alrighty, you guys, so we have round 3 completed. We have 12 3 double crochet clusters with chain 1s on either side here. And we've definitely started to round out again. So, round 4, we're going to do the same thing we did in round 2. We're going to make double clusters. We'll have 12 double clusters. So you can see how we increase. We created clusters with extra chains, worked into those extra chains, and we're doing the same thing again where we're going to create these double clusters with a chain 1 space. So we will be creating 12 double clusters going around, and we will be creating 24 chain 1 spaces as we go around in this round. So let's pick a random spot here, join in our yarn, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, that's our first double crochet, 1 double, chain 1, 2 doubles, and then chain 1. So we have our first double cluster created here. Double cluster because it's a cluster made out of 2 clusters. Next chain 1 space, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1, 1, 2, chain 1. So now we have our second double cluster there. So 2 double clusters, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 1 spots. So we're going to continue, just like I said, just like round 2, all the way around for round 4, ending with 12 double clusters, 24 chain 1 spots. So I'm going to finish this row, weave in my ends, and I will be right back for round 5. Okay, you guys, here we are with round 4 completed. We have 12 double clusters and 24 chain 1 spaces. So this is going to be a little bit different. We're not following in pattern. If we were to do 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space, this would get very large very quickly. So what we're going to do is doing 2 double crochet clusters. We're doing clusters of 2 double crochets. So hopefully that will make sense here in just a second. So round 5, we are going to have 24 clusters by the end. So join in any hole, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, double crochet, chain 1, go into the next space, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, chain 1. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around, doing a chain 1 and slipping into the top of this here. So we're actually kind of repeating row 1, not row 3 here. And that way we're not creating too much bulk and going to ruffle this edge and making it too wide. That's why I love this pattern. These alternating size clusters and using the double cluster method instead of all doing just plain granny clusters creates this nice flat circle instead of creating something that starts to cup or bow before we get to squaring it off. So round 5 is doing 2 double crochets into each chain 1 space going around with a chain 1 in between. So I'm going to finish round 5 real quick, come back, and we will do round 6, and that will wrap up our center circle here. All right, you guys, so here we are. We have our 24 double crochet clusters. And we are heading into our last row to create the center circle of this square. So once again, we're going to insert our hook into one of the chain 1 spaces. And this time we are going to make a 3 double crochet cluster into each chain 1 space. So join our yarn in, 1, 2, 3, chains up for our first double crochet, 1, 2. Now this time we are not going to add a chain 1 into or in between each cluster. We're just going to do 3 chains or 3 double crochets into each chain 1 space. So 3 double crochets, go to the next one. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to continue around just like that, joining with the slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 space here, or chain 3 up. And the reason why we're not adding the chain 1 is because our next row is going to be setting up, squaring this off, and then we're going to be squaring this off. So we need to start tightening the edge of the circle and not creating gaps. So we're just going to continue making 3 double crochet clusters in each chain 1 space here until we're all the way back around. We will have 24 clusters at the end of this round. Okay, you guys, so here we are with our finished center circle for our circle and granny square project here. We have 6 rows. This is a 2 double crochet cluster. Row 2 was the double 2 double crochet cluster round. Then we have a 3 double crochet cluster round. Then we have another double crochet cluster round, a double crochet cluster round, and then we ended with a 3 double crochet cluster round. And we went from 6 to 12 to 12 to 24, 24, 24. And this immediately lays out perfectly flat, no curling, no buckling, no bubbling. We have a perfect flat round circle that we can now start our edging border on. So this is part 1 of the tutorial on how to do this square. Part 2 should be out on Thursday, assuming this will go out on Tuesday, hopefully. And between now and Thursday, you can start building your circles. And then we can come back with our border color to square up our circles. When I did the fall blanket, I had some that were alternating every round, some that were solid, some that alternated color 3 rounds and repeat, some that had 2 rounds in the center and then alternated out. You don't have to use a different color every single row. You can change your colors up however you want to. I did try in the fall blanket to have a wide assortment of center and outside shades. That way we didn't have the eye being specifically drawn to any one spot where there was just too much green or too much orange or too much brown in a specific spot. So you can alternate your colors however you like. You can change these up however you want to. If you're not interested in making the square but wanted to have the circle, you could very easily do what I did with my messed up squares, where I ended up with the wrong count, and just turn them into trivets for your dinner plates if you eat at the sofa a lot. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. And when we come back with the border section, I will explain how I joined my blocks, and time permitting, I will hopefully have time in the next week to film the border that I used for my final blanket. So you guys take care. As always, I love you, and I will see you again here in a couple of days so we can finish off this square.